what it is. Brad Lee back again with another episode of Dropping Knowledge. And as always, you notice I changed the name. We don't say the B word.
No, it's a secret now.
It's getting me suppressed.
Oh.
So I'm going to start saying knowledge. We're dropping knowledge.
Right.
But you can see, because I'm going to put a little, like a bumper sticker over it, this word.
Yeah.
And it's just going to say dropping knowledge, but you'll still see that word under there.
You can say knowledge on an airplane.
Yeah, exactly. So we're dropping knowledge, folks. And as always, I got a real treat for you. Jason Hull is in the house.
Thanks for having me, Brad.
And Jason, folks, if you guys don't know who he is you can find him on social media at King Jason Hull. I like King.
There were a lot of Jason Hulls, and
you fancy yourself a king.
I figured I'd just make sure I was the top one.
Yeah, if you guys want to find him, go to at King Jason Hull, just like it sounds, Hull. Welcome to the show, buddy. And by the way, at DoorGrow.
Man, you're popular.
At DoorGrow.
At DoorGrow.
At DoorGrow. You guys can find him at DoorGrow. What does he specialize in? Well, folks, this guy is a specialist in, right now, property management growth. He's a world leading property management growth expert and the founder and CEO of DoorGrow, a company dedicated to transforming property management businesses and their owners. So you ultimately teach property managers how to get way more properties to manage.
Yeah. I mean, really, I teach them how to become the entrepreneurs that can have the business of their dreams. Because really, I'm not teaching them how to manage properties. They should already know that. I'm teaching them how to become the business owner that they need to be in order to have that business that they want.
So how did you stumble into it?
Yeah, good question. So I've never even had a property management business. I started by helping my brother with a website who had a property management business. And then I was helping them with websites, started coaching eventually, because the reason they wanted a website was to grow their business. And so over time, I started paying attention to what are people doing that is working to grow their business. And we tested some marketing stuff with some and different things, and eventually turned into coaching. And because a lot of people don't really know how to grow a business. So then,
but it just so happens it was what if your brother owned a plumbing company? You probably would have learned how to grow a plumbing company.
Yeah. I mean, it's really odd. I mean, I've helped hundreds of property managers. I've talked to thousands, and I've helped them add hundreds of doors. And my brother's has like 1,000 doors in his business now. My dad had a property management business. He eventually started after being a hospital administrator for like 30 years. He got up to like 200 doors and then sold it to my brother. My wife, she had a property management business that she built up to 260 and then sold. And then, so it's been around me. But yeah, my goal is not to build my own property management business, but to help build everybody that would be my competitors. So,
yeah. But ultimately you stumbled into property management because you had
found me.
Yeah, but you had like techie skills and marketing skills.
Yeah, I was a bit of a nerd, and yeah. And I'm the type of guy that I just really love learning, and I'm always trying to take a lot of different ideas together, and I'm really good at putting them into frameworks that make it easy to get into other people's heads. And
you mentioned you go to a lot of, courses and seminars and mentors and learn all this stuff. Yeah. I mean, really, I think my business exists to feed my personal why, my mission, which is to inspire others to love true principles. And so what that means for me is I love learning what works and sharing it with other people. That's just fun for me. I would do it for free for fun. And so to have a business in which people pay me to share knowledge, which allows me to spend money to go get more knowledge, it's like the best thing ever. Yeah. It's win-win-win. We were talking about that earlier. Yeah. That's why it feels so good. Yeah. Does. Well, and coincidentally, that's probably why you're finding some success doing it. Because again, all that energy and vibrational frequency that's buzzing around you. I had a lot of insecurity in the beginning doing it because I hadn't had a property management business. So I felt like I was some sort of fraud, or I had imposter syndrome. And one of my mentors, Alex Sharfin at the time, he was like, well,
who else is going to go make all these changes to the industry that you see need to be changed, or the impact that you think should be had? And I said, I don't know, maybe somebody with thousands of doors and has a big property management business. He said, why would they go help all of their competition? And I said, okay. I think, God puts these callings into our hearts. We see things where we can make improvements and we can benefit other people. And sometimes we think, oh, somebody else probably should do that. That was me in the beginning. Somebody else maybe is the person to do that, not me.
That happens to every one of us, and all the time. Stops people all the time.
Yeah.
So, but still, technically, it could have been a plumbing company. If your brother and your wife and
it could
have been plumbing. But because
chose me.
Well, what you did is you learned how to grow business, not just property management.
Absolutely.
It just happened to have been.
Yeah.
And so now you're flourishing in that industry. You ever plan on going outside of it?
I may go outside of it. I kind of fell in love with it because a lot of the people I was interacting with, property management, there's a lot of technology that people do. And that was always something I was interested in. And I like the idea that it's a residual income business model, which is kind of how I built my coaching business. And so there's a lot of parallels. So it allows me to focus on my business and learn things that I can apply to an industry that's really kind of historically been really behind.
Well, I think those principles are going to apply to every business.
Yeah.
If you look.
Sure. Yeah.
But we'll talk specifically about property management just because that is technically what you fell into. Mm-hmm. But dude, growing and scaling a business period have a lot of similarities. Like you got to first generate more leads.
Yeah.
Well, why generate more leads to a website that's garbage? So now you got to dial in the website. So now you got to be a lead guy and you got to be a website guy and pretty soon nobody does anything. But in reality, it's in a nutshell. If you want to grow and scale a company, you generate more opportunities to do business. That's number one. Then number two, you got to generate and cultivate the team that's handling that business. And then you need to organize and automate that business. So that's scaling.
Yeah.
You need people and technology. So like a tech stack, which again, you just pointed out. So those are the fundamental cores of growing and scaling any business. I need more leads. I need better people or more people. And then I need to systematize and organize and automate it all. Yes. If you can do that, you're in business. So what you did with your brother is you fell into it going, okay, I know how to build the website better.
Yeah.
And then, hey, I know how to drive a little traffic. And his business grew. And then all his buddies said, okay, I want that.
He has, yeah.
And so you said, okay, and you started charging. Next thing you know, you're in business teaching people how to grow and scale their business.
Yeah. In the beginning, I was working with like some really big companies too. So in the beginning, I'm working with people that have thousands of doors under management. And I thought, this is a great industry. Everybody has tons of money. Everybody has thousands of doors, which is not accurate at all. But that was my perception at the time. So, and these were really high level CEOs as well. So I was getting a lot of knowledge of how they run things. As my business expanded and I'm helping people that have 0 doors, or they just have 100 or maybe 200 or whatever, I was starting to see like, oh, well, you should be doing this. I've seen people doing this. You should do that. And then I also am pretty good at innovating on ideas, but I like what you're saying about the different functions in the business. One of the frameworks I love sharing with clients, I think would be beneficial to any entrepreneur listening to this, is a framework I call the 6 core functions. And I got the first 5 from Alex Sharfin, one of my mentors. And he called it the 5 core functions, but I was like, it's missing money. So I added financial at the end, which was inspired by one of my other mentors, Tim Francis of Profit Factory. Shout out, Tim. But the 6 core functions of the business are first lead gen, then nurturing those leads is second, converting them is third. So usually we'll call those first 3 sales. And a lot of people say, I need more sales. Okay, well, which is the problem? Is it the leads? Are you following up? Is there good nurture? Do you have like a podcast, things to nurture these leads, warm them up? And how's your close rate, conversion?
Which is your salespeople.
Right. And so those first,
which might be your
sales,
training.
It could be, yeah. And so then after that, there's once they're converted, there's delivery or fulfillment, right? And in property management, that's like maintenance coordination, leasing, inspections, all that kind of stuff.
Operations.
It's doing it, yeah. And then after that is lifetime value. It's like pricing, fee max, like optimizing the lifetime value of your customer. And then the last one is financial. Like, how are the internal finances? Do you know where the money is going in the business? Or do you know how to read your P&L? Like those kind of things. And so whichever one of those is weakest right now, what I've noticed with clients, and I assess them on this regularly, is that usually they continue to focus on the one area that they are good at, and they neglect something else significant. These are like 6 children in your business if you're like a parent. And what I find is a lot of them will have one fat, happy child they keep feeding all the time. Like on a scale of 1 to 5, 5 being best, if you rated all of these, whichever one's worst is a 1 and whichever one's best is a 5, they usually have a 5. For a lot of my clients, it's delivery. They just focus on the customer, the product, and then lead gen's a 1. And I'm like, lead gen, that's like you have a starving kid in the corner begging for food, and it's your child, but you're like, nope, I'm going to continue to feed this one that's a 5. And so we use this to figure out, where does the business need focus right now? Because if we continue to focus on what the business we're already doing well and we ignore the constraint, then we're making bad decisions as a business owner. Mm-hmm. And so that's one of the frameworks that I use with clients, is like to focus on is, where does the focus need to be? And then they go, oh, I've been starving lead gen, or, oh, our nurture's terrible. We're getting leads, but I never follow up, or whatever's the big constraint. So, yeah.
You systematize that process.
Yeah. We have a little assessment we give them, and then we go deep, and that's how we kind of do our annual and quarterly planning. Even as a company at DoorGrow, we figure out which one of these is our constraint. Like at DoorGrow right now, our constraint is lead gen. We were talking about before. We've really put a lot of time and energy into the other buckets, but right now lead gen, we need to beef up.
If DoorGrow just hired you to go in and do your process, would it grow?
Well, I mean, I'm running the company. So.
Well, would it grow?
Yeah, eventually, for sure.
No, it would grow.
Absolutely.
Again, sometimes when we're
the business is continually growing. So
I know, but sometimes when we're growing our own businesses, like we don't do the same thing for ourselves as we're teaching others to do. Like I'll give you an example. Lightspeed. Absolutely. Dude, Lightspeed operated for 15 years without a training system, and we were out building people training systems.
Right. Yeah.
And then one day I was trying to grow and scale, and I couldn't figure out, why it wasn't working. And then I said, man, I need a way to train like 100 people. And then someone goes, well, don't we have a training system? And I'm like, well, yeah, but I'm busy building other people's training systems. I don't have time to build my own training system.
The cobbler's son.
Exactly.
Has no shoes, right?
And so I made the time, because it's really just priorities. And I built a training system, and boom, broke past the next level. And I didn't realize it until I had, already committed the foul, so to speak.
Yeah, we get too close to the fire as business owners. And I think that's why it's always advantageous for me to have mentors. Like one of my favorite things that most people try to avoid is to get feedback, because feedback hurts. Feedback's uncomfortable, real feedback. And, but I've always found that there's a huge benefit to it, even if it's brutal in the moment or it hurts. If I'm willing to ask for feedback and people give me real feedback, then I can see things that I can't see.
What kind of feedback? Real
feedback.
See, that's why I love the brand feedback. Real. Because, dude, real just says exactly what we're talking about. You want real traffic. You want real feedback. You want the truth.
Yeah. Reality. One of my favorite, I think a great name for God is reality, because God is what is, right? He's the truth. And a lot of people will curse reality and say they love God. They're like, I hate my life, or I hate reality, or whatever they might say, or it's like, this isn't going well, or they're frustrated with whatever reality is going on instead of being grateful for it. And they're in opposition with the creator that makes everything happen. Yeah.
So let's the opposition part. You're exactly right. I agree with you. Let's call that a frequency. So again, sure. they're not in that frequency.
Right.
So how are you supposed to It's all, to me, I'll bet you we die and we find out it's all frequencies, vibrations.
Yeah. But, going back to what you said about, not doing certain things in your own business. There's so many times I've had a mentor give me feedback that I'm just kicking myself afterwards. I'm like, that's exactly what I fucking say to my own clients all the time. And I just needed somebody to be me and say it to me. Yeah.
Well, they say you can't see the picture if you're inside the frame sometimes.
Okay. Yeah.
You can't see the forest through the trees because you're in the trees. But hey, dude, we live and we learn, we develop, we grow, we get hurt. That causes us to develop. We grow past the place we were stuck. So, I mean, it's all a process. Everybody listening, though, specifically property managers, if you guys manage properties. Now, for people like, what's a property manager? That's like if I owned a bunch of houses and I don't want to collect the rent and fix the toilets and deal with the applications and kick people out and let people in and deliver extra keys.
Well, then I'd someone else to be the landlord.
Yeah, then I'd hire a property manager. Yeah. So if you guys are in real estate and you own property, you should call this dude and he could probably find you a property manager. Yeah, and by the way, that's another way for you to be more valuable to your property managers is find them properties to manage.
Yeah.
Which is lead gen. It's all cyclical. But at the end of the day, you're teaching these property managers, hey, how do you go find and close more deals? And that involves this framework that you developed that's been working consistently 100% of the time as long as the person implements.
Yeah.
So if I'm listening to this and I'm a property manager, I'm calling you because what's the worst that can happen? Yeah. It doesn't work. And I invested a little time and money to figure out this is bullshit.
Yeah, but it works. Yeah, we've got proof. If they do it, it works.
You're proof of it.
Yeah. I think one of the biggest mistakes real estate investors make, and there's probably a lot of real estate investors listening to the show, but I think one of the biggest mistakes they make is not hiring a property manager. They think they're an expert.
Who would want to manage their own properties?
Right. Nobody wakes up in the morning and goes, man, I would love to show my rental property to some potential tenants today. And I would love to screen tenants. And I would love to handle maintenance coordination at 2 a.m. on Christmas Eve. Like nobody loves managing rental properties, but you talk to property managers, there's a lot of them that actually enjoy it. They enjoy managing rental properties.
Not only that, they probably have developed systems and processes where they can do it easier than you can.
They've got better technology. They've got better systems. They've got things at scale that somebody managing a few units on their own just doesn't have.
Okay, so if I got property managers listening, I'm sure might be a few out of the trillions of people plug into my show.
Trillions.
What would you say if they just do it themselves? Like they don't need you, they're going to go try to do it themselves. What would you say? Where would they look first? Like where do they need to start? It's on that pad because I saw it. Like where do they need to start? What's at the bottom on the left?
Well, if somebody's wanting to become a property manager, like get into this, like
no, not become one. I was going to go there next because there's people like real estate agents that ain't making no money and they realize that shit's hard.
Yeah.
And by the way, just for tips, anybody in real estate, you got to pay attention to what I'm about to say. And this is true. You don't get rich selling it. Okay. If you really want to be rich and you're selling real estate, you don't get rich selling it. You get rich owning it.
Yeah.
You get rich owning it. So you want to use the commissions and the money that you made selling it to eventually become a real estate investor, because that's how you get rich.
Yeah.
And which would lead you to his door, because any real estate investor that's real and big is not doing applications and changing toilets. So if you're a real estate investor and you want to get big, well, then you're going to need to have property managers. It's not a matter of if, it's for sure if you're big. If you got 6 houses and you're doing it yourself to save a little money, well, then my opinion would be you're more scarce based. Because dude, I hire one house, I want a property manager for that house.
Yeah.
I am not changing one toilet. I don't want one phone call. I don't want one headache. You know why? I told you earlier.
Yeah.
I don't fuck with 3 things: condoms, rattlesnakes, or headaches.
Right. Don't need them.
Don't need them. Don't want them. And dude, if I'm a property manager, I got headaches. Well, why you want to be a property manager? Well, I own properties. I got to manage them. No, dude, there's people that'll take that off your plate. Just like scooping the dog shit out of my backyard. Yeah. I don't want to scoop poop. Dude, there's pooper scoopers that make millions of dollars. You know that?
Yeah.
Why are they making millions of dollars? They're just scooping poop because they're solving a problem.
Yeah. People don't want to do. I've paid for somebody. When I was living in LA, I realized as a CEO of a $1 million plus company, I was micromanaging my children to pick up dog shit. That's not really valuable for my time. So then I was like, there's got to be somebody that does this. There's companies that do that. I paid a company to come out and pick up the dog shit so I didn't have to micromanage my kids to get them to do it.
Yeah. Well, again, that's a smart move.
Yeah, right.
But if you were scarcity based, dude, that's $70 a week you could be buying diapers with, even though you got diapers.
Right. Yeah. I mean, there's kind of three types of buyers psychologically, right? There's the cheapos, I call them. There's the normals that are the majority. They're like probably 60, 61%. And then there's the smallest group, which are the premium buyers. And if you're a cheapo, you attract cheapos.
That's right.
So if you're like, oh, can I ask them for a discount? How can I do this? Like, can I do that? Like the cheapos tend to attract their own cheapo clients. And so good property managers, like you talked about real estate, they believe in real estate investments. They have their own portfolios. That's their primary goal, is build their own portfolio.
Yeah.
And then they are managing for others. And then they also are focused on building up, hopefully moving themselves up that ladder of going from being a cheapo to being more of a normal buyer, maybe more to a premium buyer, which means they're believing they're valuable. They're believing they're worth something.
You mean they're raising their self-worth?
Yeah.
Which raises your net worth?
Right. Yeah.
So I'm listening to this episode as a real estate investor. I'm interested in talking to Jason Hall because of that. If I'm a property manager, I'm obviously interested because I probably have fewer property managers than I do investors. Because how many property managers are there? That's a small group, no?
There's a lot of property management companies. I mean, there's probably just about as many as real estate offices. But property management in the U.S. is only about 30% of like single family residential rentals, for example, are professionally managed in the U.S. In Australia, it's like 80%.
Have you ever heard of Pete Carroll?
Yeah.
Pat Carroll.
Anyway, Pete Carroll's a coach.
Well, Pat Carroll is a big real estate mogul that you've seen on the internet, perhaps. Had a little bit of a, branding issue for a minute, but he built a massive real estate portfolio company and then made a big exit for like over $300 million. Yeah. And when you really look at what he did, he sold his property management company for over $300 million.
Wow.
Like, dude, he built a property management company within his real estate company. So he was buying and then built a management company that exited on its own, which leads me to the next one. Now it doesn't matter who's listening to this. If you guys are looking for a way, to build something, theoretically, they should become a property manager.
So here's something that people should understand about the industry is most property management companies suck. Most of them suck. It has a bad reputation, and especially among real estate agents, they're like, oh yeah. And so,
how do you differentiate the good ones?
Most of them suck. It's not hard to be exceptional in that industry. It's not hard to be exceptional
because everyone sucks so bad.
I think one of the big reasons most of them suck is they make the mistake of taking on any client. I mean, you could just imagine your own business. If you took on any client, it would suck. So a lot of them spend money on marketing that is unnecessary or doesn't work. They don't get an ROI. So the first thing to go when they have a lack of ROI or cash flow is customer service.
Which then deteriorates even more.
Then they get needy. So the cycle of suck in property management, this is one of my frameworks, is you take on shitty clients, which leads to shitty properties, which leads to shitty tenants, which then leads to, if you have shitty owners and shitty tenants, then you're going to get shitty reviews, which helps you attract more shitty clients. And so this continues. And every property manager tries to filter tenants. They try to screen tenants, but they don't, a lot of them, filter the properties they're willing to allow in their portfolio, and they don't filter the clients that they're willing to allow. So they end up becoming shit shields for slumlords, which is not a fun place to be. And so a lot of our clients, when they first come on, one of our magic tricks is we just convince them to fire some of the properties in their portfolio or some of the owners that they're managing for that are not even profitable for them anyway. When they factor in their profit margin and their costs of managing the most difficult properties and the most difficult owners are not making the money.
And so immediately you increase their bottom line and lessen their brain damage.
Right. They lessen their operational costs, yes, and their brain damage. Yeah.
Which is hugely valuable.
Yeah.
So why do you think most people don't understand these basic print? Because to me, dude, it seems like, obvious answers, but yet people don't find them on their own.
It seems so. When people start a property management business, they make the mistake of thinking that the game is internet marketing, and the challenge for that industry is that search volume for property management on Google has not increased since Google started tracking data in 2004. If you go to Google Trends, so there's no search volume increase yet. Every company, all the biggest companies, 6,000 doors plus whatever, they're spending thousands of dollars a month to dominate the small amount of search volume that exists. They can't even spend any more money they're maxing out their ad budgets. And so new companies come in, or small companies, and they come in and they try to spend money to acquire customers doing the same thing the biggest companies are doing. That would be like this, the story of David and Goliath, right?
Yeah.
If David had done the same thing as Goliath, he would have gotten his ass kicked, right? Sword, shield, armor. So the sword of SEO, the shield of pay-per-click, content marketing. So if they tried to do all the internet marketing stuff that is the same as the biggest companies in their market, they get their ass kicked. And that's how most of them are trying to grow initially, because they think that's the game. So, and we're one of the first companies a lot of times they reach out to. They're like, we need a website, or we need something, to get the business going. And usually when companies come to us, I'm convincing them to stop doing all of their paid marketing stuff. So we're eliminating their marketing spend, and I help them grow faster as a result. And so there's a huge blue ocean. 70% are self-managing. There's no scarcity in the industry. They're just not looking for a property manager. So the secret is we help them figure out how to go find business that aren't online. And and it's a blue ocean. There's no competition there. The big companies aren't even trying this stuff. Yeah.
See, people should pay attention. Right there alone, this episode probably just crushed for somebody, because someone just had a light bulb turn on with that statement.
Well, the secret thing to realize is that we're in a world where everyone's trying to figure out what's the secret to go wide as quick as possible. But when you go wide, there's no depth. And depth, I think, is the secret to growing and scaling any business. It's doing the unscalable things that scales businesses. Right? This takes a lot of time. This is relationship. This is one-on-one. This is depth. And a lot of people mistakenly think, how can I go send out thousands of postcards that are going to get me a really shitty return and take like multiple times to do it, when they could pick up the phone and call a property owner and say, hey, do you like doing this? And they'll say, absolutely not. Cool. What if I could do it for you basically for free? Have you raised rent in the last 3 years? No. Cool. What if I raise it 10% and it covers all my management fees? It's like getting free management. Property management is not a hard sell if they're a good company, and we help make sure they're good companies.
And know what they're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, 'cause it sounds like it's just like little things that they could tweak and make a big difference.
Yeah.
It's like a little tweak of a golf swing makes a big difference.
Yeah, we can sit down with most property managers. Most of them have shitty pricing models. We'll as a magic trick, we just change their pricing model to something that's more ethical, honestly, and is a better fit. And then they make way more money, and our program's paid for. So, I think any good product is not a hard sell. It just makes sense.
As long as it's explained and delivered, you're in business.
Like you were telling us about Lightspeed. Lightspeed sounds like a good product. And to you, it's obvious and just makes sense. I know you believe in it, right? And when we believe in it, that belief is transferable, and it like people pick it up. Yeah. And I absolutely 100% believe in what DoorGrow does. Like, no question. I think our stuff is absolutely proven. We have more testimonials or case studies than anyone else in the industry. We can turn struggling property managers into successful property managers.
Well, I believe it because I see the evidence. But if I just said that to everybody listening, you'd get a fraction of the people that we could help figure shit out, because, you know, you can help property managers. But I'm trying to point out, dude, these frameworks apply to anybody's business.
Absolutely.
Now, maybe you wouldn't take everybody that reaches out to you. There might be a listener that has a business that goes, dude, all this applies to my business. I want to call them and hire them for my business, but I'm not a property manager. Well, again, DoorGrow is named after property management, but dude, how about just start another division called Grow?
Yeah, I mean,
like, you can call DoorGrow if you're a property manager, but just call Grow if you want to grow your business. And dude, you just opened up the entire world. And guess what? If you went in with your frameworks and you went through each thing like you do for DoorGrow, you'll start to realize, like, dude, this shit works for any business.
It does. Yeah. I mean, because truth is truth, right? What works, works.
Truth is truth. And by the way, I always say truth is the light. Everything else is the darkness.
Yeah.
Well, if you just go towards the truth, go towards the light, right? Everything else takes care of itself, because believe it or not, if you turn on a light in a dark room, darkness goes away.
I love that analogy, because you could have a massive room full of darkness, but one little light can light the entire room. Light's that powerful. And like us as individuals, like Jesus said to his apostles, you are the light. Like a city is set on a hill can't be hid, right? And so if we are just a little bit of a light, like sharing truth, sharing knowledge, we can get rid of a lot of shit. We can get rid of a lot of darkness. And and that's rewarding. That feels great to do for other people. It feels great to be a light.
You're obviously a faith-based individual.
Yeah, I'd say so. Yeah.
I don't know how much you've known of me, but I always lose people when I say his name wasn't Jesus.
Yeshua.
But I don't want to go that route. I know we'll be talking about that for hours. Yesterday, I had Billy Carson on here.
Yeah.
Who's a little bit controversial. And we spent like a couple hours debating all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
But anyway, dude, so what's your next move? Like, what is DoorGrow's plans?
Yeah. So, well, on the faith-based thing, have you ever heard of the Aquarian Gospel of Jesus Christ?
No, but I'm an Aquarian, so that would be crazy for me to go look at. So
there is a book, and this is my favorite book. Like, I love the Bible, and I grew up Mormon, actually. I grew up Mormon, and I studied scriptures. I was a Mormon missionary for 2 years. Like, I did everything Mormon, right? I eventually left the church. Because I just felt like I'm always seeking greater light, and I just felt like I kind of outgrown it. But one of my favorite books is the Aquarian Gospel of Jesus Christ. You should check it out. It covers the missing years of Jesus, but but I feel like it's like
what's it called?
The Aquarian Gospel of Jesus Christ by Levi Dowling. It's one of my favorite books. I love studying it. I feel like it raises my vibration. I feel like it's the version of the New Testament that I think the future needs. And there's some great stories in it. I would read you some right now. I just like some of them that just I feel like are so inspiring that you don't have in the New Testament. And I feel like there's some things like in how the New Testament was translated that just always sat a little odd to me. Like how he interacted with the woman at the well a little bit and some other things. I'm like, that sounds like he's being mean or cold or, but there's a different version that to me feels more accurate. But for me, it doesn't matter whether what's in the Bible, the Korean Gospel, the Book of Mormon, whatever is factual history. To me, it's whether or not the principles are useful. That's it. Because whether Jehoshaphat begat so-and-so or whatever, like it's not facts and history that changes lives. It's the truth and the principles that can be applied. So even if somebody wrote the most masterful fictional story ever, if the principles were valid and it could change lives, that's what I'm always craving and looking for. So I'm sure there's scholars that may pick apart the Korean Gospel. I don't know. But I love I love that version of sort of the New Testament time period, but it also covers all of Jesus' missing years, him going through Egypt, going through Greece. And I feel like if I could just even share with your audience this one thing, it would change a lot of lives. I think it's really awesome.
Well, you just did.
Yeah.
But my question to that would be, who wrote it? Because how do they know if they were missing? How do they know it's not made up?
This is where things get woo-woo. But you know how in the book of Revelations it says there's the book of life, and in it everything we do, every thought, word, deed is recorded. So some cultures call that the Akashic records. So supposedly what happened is this guy named Levi Dowling, which I guess was a military preacher back in around 1918, or something like that. It was a long time ago. Transcribed this by being able to read the Akashic records, being able to. And
how did he get access to those? Kind of like Joseph Smith found some golden tablets.
I don't think he found anything. I think he just tuned in, maybe vibration wise, and was able to then read it and write it. But I guess he it got written down somehow. I don't know. There's not whole lot. So I read it skeptically, and I think the stories in it speak for themselves.
Well, I'm going to go read it only because I'm one of those dudes that have an open mind.
A lot of people will think blasphemy the second you mention anything outside of the Bible. But I grew up Mormon, so we had the Book of Mormon, we had the Doctrine and Covenants, we had all these extra books, Pearl of Great Price, and so I was like,
but the book says no other book shall be added or taken away, no other words.
Yeah, well, whichever verse said that, when that was written, there wasn't a fully formed Bible put together.
Well, not only that, but dude, the Aquarian Gospel of Jesus isn't a Bible. It's just a book.
It's a book
with information in it. It's not supposed to be added to or taken away from. Does it contradict the Bible? It'd be my question.
I think there are verses that are a little different than the Bible. So, for example, Jesus in that talks about that he came to demonstrate the Christ, which was the Messiah, came to demonstrate, which means love. And that he talks about that when love is put on the throne of your heart, then it saves people. So it paints a picture where he's more trying to get people to be better rather than trying to glorify himself. There's less of that. So I think that's fascinating to me.
Well, yeah, but see, if you talk to any Christian that, believes in the Bible, they would agree with that.
Sure.
Because nobody thinks Jesus was here trying to glorify himself. In fact, the scripture tells the opposite.
Sure. Yeah. He even said, I didn't come to do my own will. I think if Christians read the Aquarian Gospel of Jesus Christ with an open mind and they love Christ, they will love that book.
Well, I will be your guinea pig.
You be my guinea pig.
Because scripture tells us.
Come back and we'll chat about it. And
Jason, scripture tells us to seek and ye shall find. And part of seeking is looking. So that's why when you start to talk to people and they close their ears and they don't want to hear it because of something they already heard where that's it. No more. Well, dude, that's not seeking.
Or they have itching ears, the scriptures say, where they only want to hear what they want to hear. And the Bible talks about. So either way. Well,
you just shared it with them. So I'm sure there's a lot of people writing that down. And in case you didn't get the title, it's the Aquarian Gospel of Jesus Christ. Even though they don't know his name, that's clear because that ain't his name.
Yeah.
And it's pretty important, if you ask me. It doesn't, I don't know, I don't go beyond that. But, to me, if you were claiming to know me and someone goes, what's his name? And you said Barney or Brett, or you were close, but it wasn't real. I'd think, how well does he actually know him? He doesn't even know his name. But a lot of people say Jesus, and they do know his name was Yahshua, but they say Jesus so everybody else knows who they're talking about.
Yeah, sure. Because it's
because you go around saying Yahshua, people don't even know who that is.
Absolutely. Like if I were talking with a born again Christian, I would talk very differently about stuff like that than I would talk about with a Mormon versus a born again Christian versus a New Ager. We have to, the scriptures say it should be preached in everybody's tongue. Well, there's kind of different dogma and dogmatic language, and people can't see beyond that. So you have to communicate in terms and language that people can palate. If you want to get a message, Jesus, hung out with publicans and sinners, it said, right? He probably spoke in a way that they could understand or that they were open to,
But I'm sure that didn't change the message.
No. Yeah. Truth is truth. Yeah.
Truth is the light.
Yeah.
That's why truth shall set you free.
Yeah. So,
and to bring it back, folks, the truth is this dude helped grow and scale a property management company almost through other skills that you brought into that industry. Could have been any industry.
Yeah.
And then you developed a whole process that can help any property management company grow. And then being here, I think you guys are realizing, dude, this will help any company grow, really. Now the question is, do we want to venture outside of property management? Because if you did, there's probably a bunch more people listening that would be like, dude, just help my company grow. It's not a property management company, but help it grow. And dude, I guarantee you go in with those same principles. Yeah. Just like the Bible, dude. You can say it however you want, but you go do these things.
Yeah, it could be applied.
Your company grows. So everything we talked about today would grow any company listening. The question is, do they have the map? Do they have the process? Do they have the foundation? Do they have the team of people to work through it? Do they have the right tech stack in place? Yeah. You know, I've walked up to people and say, are you doing paid ads? And they go, yeah, we were, but that didn't really work. So we stopped. Yeah. Well, first of all, they do work.
I tried that, but it didn't work. No,
I know, but dude, paid ads work. The question is did yours work? And if the answer is no, well, then paid ads still work. Yours don't. There's a difference.
Yeah.
And why don't yours? Well, maybe it was the copy. Maybe it was the offer. Maybe it was your ad buyer. Maybe it was your media buyer. Maybe it was a broken link. Maybe it was a shitty website, so everyone came and no one converted. Because you're right. You know, there's way more to it. But all I did is paid money. I didn't get any back, so I stopped. Well, I would too, but I wouldn't stop doing paid ads. I'd stop doing what I was doing. And then I'd figure out a different way. And I would figure out how paid ads work, because they do work. You know, just like a better website will convert more than a shitty website. Like that's just fact.
Yeah, I mean, if you ask somebody, do you think anyone else out there is succeeding at this? They'll always say, yeah. Well, then it can work, right? It can work.
It does work. You need their systems, their processes, their resources, their connections, their network.
Yeah. You know, we're always doing the best we can with the limited knowledge and access to resources we currently possess. And so if you knew better, you would do better. Yeah.
If you knew better, you'd do better. I don't know if I made that up a long time ago, but I hear a lot of people saying it, and I'm like, dude, I said that like 25 years ago.
Yeah.
And it's true today. That's what you call a universal truth. If you knew better, you'd do better.
Yeah. Yeah. Some people say, oh, I should have known better. Well, you didn't. You hadn't learned that lesson. Intellectual knowledge is not the same as like experiencing it where you actually know it.
Yeah, but my question is, when they say something like that, I'd say the important thing is, do you know it now? And they go, oh, I know it now. Good. Then don't, because people repeat the same mistakes over and over.
Oh, yeah.
It's almost like, stepping in dog shit isn't a big deal unless you keep stepping in the same pile every day. Well, now you're an idiot. Like, why would you keep doing it? Why aren't you learning from these things? Mm-hmm. But growing a business isn't as easy as everybody says it is, but it is as simple as everybody thinks it is. It's actually more simple than people think it is. Right. It's just not easy. And so they move over and they get the discomfort and the headaches of dealing with it. And then they say, oh, that doesn't work. Well, dude, yes, it does. It's just you got to go, approach it differently. Shift your perspective about certain things. I had a guy one time call me and say, I want to coach. And because I help a lot of coaching in the mentoring space, everybody assumes that's what I do. Well, I don't. And again, I don't even like to. It takes time. I like my time.
Yeah.
You got to sell your time to people because you have to go in and figure out what they're doing and educate them and, reinforce them and build their confidence and convince them that this is the right way. Even though they're paying you, they don't want to listen to what you're telling them.
We call those assholes in the coaching business.
Yeah, so I don't like doing it, but
they
people
ask you, but they don't do it.
People assume that I do. So one day this dude calls me and he says, "Hey, I need you to coach me." I said, "No, but I'll point you out to some people." And he said, "No, it needs to be you. I like you." And I said, "Yeah, well, I don't really do it." And he goes, "I'll give you $100,000." And I said, "When you want to start?" So right. I figured I'd help him. So I sat down. I'm like, "What's up?" Long story short, he was making about $750,000 a year, had been doing it for 4 or 5 years, fairly happy with his income, but he just knew there was more and he couldn't figure out how to get it and yada, yada, yada.
Yeah.
So all I said was, well, tell me what you do. He said, I basically prospect Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday so I can set up appointments for Thursday and Friday. And then on Thursday and Friday, I close all the appointments that I set up Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. And I said, well, so you get paid how? And he said, well, that's how I get paid. I said, no, how do you get paid? He says, I get paid when someone does this. And I'm like, yeah. So you only get paid when you're selling. He said, yeah. I said, well, then
stop doing everything else.
Yeah. I said, why don't you just hire a virtual assistant or somebody that can set up appointments for you, and then you can close 5 days a week.
Yeah.
Instead of 2, because right now you're closing.
Sales assistant would he'd double his close rate.
Yeah, and he had limited mindset, blocked thinking, and he's like, well, I have to because of this reason and that reason. I said, can't you train that? Can't you do that? He finally said, oh my God. So he hired a secretary type position, which really what he hired was an appointment setter. And then he just filled up his whole entire week with customers, and he went from 750 to like 2-point-something million in income.
Yeah.
And literally I spoke to him for maybe 30 minutes and he never called back, and he was completely happy. So he gave me $100,000. All I said was, why don't you do this? And boom, later down the road, people would say, dude, I can't believe you paid $100,000 for that information. Like, that's so obvious.
Yeah. But you had decades of knowledge behind all of that led you to be able to see the problem quickly and to be able to change him quickly.
Well, not only that, but I wasn't inside the frame.
Yeah.
I was looking from outside, like, dude, why don't you just do that? And so people were like, whoa. But dude, knowledge is not the value. People think I sold the knowledge and he bought the knowledge. Nope. If he didn't hire the person and train the person, it wouldn't have worked. So the knowledge alone is not the value. The knowledge and the application of the knowledge is where the real power comes from. And that's people, understanding that, hey, since I paid for it, I might as well do it. And that's why a lot of times there's a fee involved. Why? Well, because people that don't pay, somehow they don't value attention. And they don't execute, and they don't put any stock into the information, which means now it goes without action, and now it's it doesn't work.
They don't value it.
Which, by the way, reconfirms their bias that it didn't work in the first place.
Yeah, I used to give away this sales training I created just to help property managers that I was helping with websites, because they were struggling with this thing all the time. I said, I'll give you this thing, and I would give it away for $100. It was like, it was good stuff. I thought it was good, but they didn't really think much of it. And then when I got my first coaching client that was paying me like $2,000 a month, I gave him that training, and he watched it over and over again. It was like his religion, and he like grew dramatically. And I was like, what's the difference here? It's the same training.
The difference was the person.
Yeah. Well, it was also the price. That was it. Like the difference was the perception I created by what I was charging.
See, again, that's a universal truth too. Mm-hmm. So, dude, I'm glad you came in. There's a lot of people that are probably struggling one way or the other that just solved some problems for people for free, by the way, because I'm not charging for dropping bombs. Although everyone's telling me you should do a private subscription model where it's members only type of thing.
Oh, you could. I love what you said. You were talking about that gentleman that you helped. And a lot of times in early stage entrepreneurs, we get caught up in this belief that I have to do it. And because I'm so special. But if you're telling yourself right now, like, you have to do this, you're not that special. Somebody else, especially if it's any role, any hat we're wearing in our business we don't enjoy wearing right now. If you don't enjoy wearing it, you are not the best person to be doing it. You can always find somebody else that will love doing it more than you. And if they love doing it, they will be better at that than you. Like, you have team members right now that you know are better at their job than you would be.
Not
at that
really.
Job, maybe.
I'm the best at everything.
You're the best at videography and running
no,
a camera?
He's a better videographer than me, yes.
Right. So we hire, this is how we get specialists. We get people. Like, I used to do logo design for clients. I have a logo designer. He's better at it than me. I have, I used to build the websites. I have web designers that are better at it than me. I used to run the operations. My wife is way better at the ops than I am. Yeah. So like, but there's certain things I'm good at. And if I'm wearing hats that I don't enjoy wearing and I'm holding on to those, I need to fire myself. I would fire an employee that were performing that level.
I need to fire myself doing a bunch of things.
Yeah. I think,
well, let me go a step further too. Let's pretend that's not the case, and the person is a unicorn, and he or she really is better than everybody else. You're not going to grow.
But they're a limited resource.
That's right. So again, it's still not better. So like literally, if you're even the best person to do it,
yeah,
but you want to grow big,
sure,
you can't. It's not possible. So with that being said, I would rather have 10 people 70% as good as me doing it than me doing it 100% the way to do it. Yeah. Why? Well, because as long as someone's almost as good as you, it's actually better than you wasting all your time and doing it. Because dude, sure, at the end of the day, man, I want to enjoy life a little bit, especially I'm getting up there in age. Even if I'm lucky, I only got probably 30, 40 years left. Mm-hmm. If I'm lucky, and I am, but maybe, somebody 25 years old wants to spend the next 20 years doing something, and then they're 45. I've already done it. I just didn't know what I knew, or didn't know then what I know now. If I could go back to 20 years old, bro, dude, I'd be literally retired at 30.
Yeah. Have you ever heard of Roland Fraser's 5 levels of exit? You ever heard of that?
No, but
framework?
I know Roland Fraser. What's his 5 levels of exit?
So I think in a business, there's different levels of exit. People think, oh, well, you start a business and you sell the business and you exit the whole business. That's exit number 5. But, and I notice this in property management a lot, and I'm sure most business owners listening to this, if we're not at the right level of exit, if we go too far and sell the business, we lose all our purpose and momentum. I've seen people do that. Or if we're not far enough, like the first exit is exiting the frontline work. Everybody should do that one. Most entrepreneur personality types do not enjoy doing all of the frontline work, right? Answering the phones, checking every email, doing the calendar, right? So level 2 is exiting the management. Then there's exiting the leadership, there's exiting the board, et cetera, right? So we need to figure out, do I want to just own the company eventually? And I think as we age, our level of exit, we ascend that. And eventually we may want to sell the business. But for a lot of us, we would probably rather die than have nothing to do as entrepreneurs. And so a lot of people go too far. And so we have to find that balance. Which level of exit am I happiest with right now? Like right now, I enjoy being CEO of DoorGrow. I enjoy that. But eventually I may want to put somebody else in, maybe to be CEO or to run it, because I just want to be a mentor in it. Or I want to be on the board. And maybe eventually I want to exit the board and just own it. Right?
Which I think is the best level of exit. It's exiting without exiting.
Right. And so one of the things I heard from Ryan Dice and Roland Fraser was the more valuable you are to your business, the less valuable your business is.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
Most people don't know that either.
Yeah. It's a good quote, man. I love that.
It's very good. And it's very real. People don't understand it and they don't agree with it sometimes, but it's still the truth.
It's humbling once they realize it. I mean, the first time an entrepreneur hires somebody that is better at them than something, it really is humbling for them. It blows them away.
And they start to realize who was stopping their growth this whole time is them. And they never would have admitted it until they realized it themselves. If you told them that, they'd fire you.
Yeah. The biggest constraint in the business will always be the person running it.
Dude, you're a wealth of knowledge and information. It's no wonder you're successful. The question is are people listening convinced?
I don't know.
Because if they're listening and they're convinced, dude, your phone's going to blow up.
Well, if they're not convinced, then by this, go ahead and check out my podcast or YouTube or other stuff.
Where do they find that?
DoorGrow. They can just Google DoorGrow, find DoorGrow anywhere, DoorGrow on any social platform, or King Jason Hole on any platform.
Or you got the links below this episode. If you're listening to this episode like most people, just doorgrow.com. Is it doorgrow.com?
It is.
And go follow them. If not for if anything, go follow the dude. A lot of free information on his podcast, his social media. I'm going to help him grow his social media, get that thing cranked up.
Let's light it up.
But I just keep bringing you guys unknown gems. Okay, if you want this dude back on another episode, blow up my inbox and say, bring that dude back. And I'll reach out and get him back for another episode where we can share more knowledge. Yeah. Because we've been dropping knowledge. Appreciate you, dude. Thanks for coming in.
Yeah.
And as always, folks, until next time, keep it real.